Nobody expected him to show up. No cameras followed him. No PR team cleared the way. Ice Cube walked into the Manhattan courtroom like a man on a mission, not a celebrity chasing headlines. He wasn't there to take the stand for fame or revenge. He was there to blow the roof off something far darker than a scandal, something that had festered beneath the glitz of Hollywood for decades. And when he pulled out that folder, thick with names, recordings, and receipts, the room didn't just fall silent, stopped breathing. Because what he exposed wasn't just about Diddy. This wasn't about a superstar facing justice. This was about an invisible structure, one that manipulates, punishes, and erases anyone who dares to resist. A structure guarded by smiling faces on red carpets, enforced by billionaires, fueled by silence. For years, people whispered, names like Oprah, Jamie Foxx, Quincy Jones. But that day, those whispers turned into documented facts, and the man holding the match was Ice Cube. And what he revealed would shake the foundation of the entertainment industry forever. Ice Cube didn't start with gossip. He started with facts. Cold, brutal facts that everyone in the courtroom had heard rumors about but never dared to say out loud. He pointed straight at the heart of the entertainment industry, a secret circle, an elite group hidden behind Hollywood's polished smiles and press tours. Not a conspiracy, a system, one built on fear, silence, and obedience. He called it what it was, a golden cage. They invite you in with praise, shower you with awards, offer you the world. But the moment you stop playing along, you're not just blacklisted, you're erased. Not slowly, not quietly, with precision, with intention. You stop getting calls. Projects vanish. Your image crumbles overnight. It's not paranoia if the power is real. Cube turned to Diddy. No fear, no hesitation. He said it straight. Diddy wasn't a puppet, he was pulling strings. The gatekeeper, the one making the calls in the dark, deciding who rises and who disappears. The jury leaned forward. Reporters froze. The judge looked like he needed a moment to process. 'Cause what Cube just described wasn't just a toxic culture, it was a calculated machine. But he wasn't done. Not even close, because next came the name that changed everything. Jamie Foxx. When Ice Cube spoke Jamie Foxx's name, the temperature in the courtroom dropped. This wasn't rumor anymore, this was testimony. Jamie wasn't just a victim of industry politics. According to Cube, he was targeted, silenced, broken by design. Cube said Jamie trusted him, confided in him. Not on record, not for clout, but as a man terrified of what he'd seen. Started the same way it always does. Compliments, private invites, secret parties in black SUVs with no phones allowed. But the deeper Jamie went, the more control they took. He wasn't just a rising star, he was being groomed. Then came 2023. Jamie's mysterious medical collapse shook the internet. No clear cause, no public details. But Cube? He didn't buy the silence. He looked the jury in the eye and said, that wasn't just a health scare, that was a warning. A warning sent by the same circle that welcomed Jamie in, then punished him for stepping back. Courtroom sat frozen. Because if what Cube said was true, then Jamie didn't just disappear. He was erased. And then Cube went further, pulling back the curtain on two names even more powerful, Oprah and Quincy Jones. The room was already on edge when Ice Cube dropped the next bomb. Oprah. Yes, that Oprah. The woman who built an empire on empathy, trust, and influence. But according to Cube, her role in this story wasn't as a savior, it was as a handler. Right before Jamie's Oscar win for Ray, Cube said Jamie got a call. He expected congratulations. Instead, Oprah told him, you're blowing it. Then she said she'd introduce him to someone who could help. That someone was Quincy Jones. Cube didn't have to explain who Quincy was. Everyone already knew, legendary producer, Hollywood royalty. But Cube's version of Quincy was nothing like the public image. He called him feared, powerful, untouchable, not a mentor but a gatekeeper. A man who didn't offer guidance, he offered orders. Jamie went to Quincy's house expecting advice. What he found felt like something else entirely. It wasn't help, Jamie later told Cube. It was training. He never fully described what happened, but the look in his eyes said enough. Cube's voice dropped. They called it legacy, but it was a leash. And if you think that was the worst of it, what came next was darker than anyone expected. By now, the courtroom wasn't just listening, they were locked in, and Ice Cube wasn't slowing down. He said the parties Jamie and others were invited to weren't parties at all. They were setups, elaborate traps disguised as networking events. No phones allowed, TVs waiting at odd hours, celebrities dazed and smiling for cameras they never saw. Cube said these gatherings were filmed. Every room, every moment, footage was collected, stored, and weaponized. Artists weren't just celebrated, they were documented. And once you were on tape, the machine owned you. Cube said Jamie once called him after one of those nights. He didn't say much, just enough. "I can't talk about it, Cube, but I can't unsee it either." He wasn't alone. Cube claimed at least 2 other actors had told him similar stories. One woke up in a hotel room with no memory and a contract on the table. Another called him shaking, whispering, "I think they recorded me." Then Cube paused, let the silence hang. "You want to know how they keep people quiet?" he asked. "It's not just fear, it's blackmail." And just when the jury thought they'd heard it all, Cube dropped a confession of his own. His one and only night inside the machine. Ice Cube didn't speak like a man repeating a story. He spoke like someone who lived it. And now it was his turn to confess. "I went to one of those parties," he said. "Just once. It was the early 2000s. No official invite. Just a whisper, a name, a time, and a black SUV waiting outside his hotel. They called it a networking night. But Cube knew from the moment the car turned into the Hollywood Hills, something wasn't right. A long driveway, a mansion, a gate that locked behind him louder than it should have. His phone was taken at the door. No music, no laughter, just low lights, hushed voices, security everywhere. The vibe? Off. Completely. And then there were the rooms, dark, half-cracked doors with sounds behind them no party should ever have. He saw faces he recognized. Big names. But they didn't look like themselves. Some were dazed. Some looked scared. Some just blank. And then he saw it. A major celebrity, slumped on a couch, eyes wide. Across from him, a silent camera recording. That's when Cube left. No goodbyes, no questions, just gone. But the next morning, the message came through, crystal clear. "We saw you leave." Cube's tone shifted, colder now, heavier. Because what happened to Jamie Foxx wasn't just punishment. It was surgical erasure. "Hollywood doesn't cancel you," Cube said. "It deletes you." After Jamie pulled back from Diddy's circle, everything changed. First, the jobs. The roles he'd already signed onto were suddenly delayed. Meetings vanished. Directors and collaborators, people he'd worked with for years, ghosted him overnight. First it looked random, but then Cube laid it out. A calendar, showing Jamie's planned work between 2019 and 2021. All of it connected to companies tied to Bad Boy, Revolt, or Diddy's Shadow Network. Cube didn't have to explain. Paper spoke for itself. Then came the smear campaign. Gossip blogs started whispering, Jamie's unstable, erratic, losing it. But Cube said Jamie wasn't falling apart. He was finally pushing back. That's when it escalated. Cube looked the jury in the eye. "That health scare? You really think that just happened?" Jamie, a man in peak physical condition, collapses on set. Right after distancing himself from the machine, Cube didn't point fingers directly. He didn't have to. The weight of his words did it for him. And when Jamie refused to come back, refused to play the game, they tried something even darker, replacement. When Jamie Foxx didn't fold, Cube said they took it to a whole new level. No more whispers. No more meetings. Instead, they flipped the script entirely. That's when the clone rumors started. Photos surfaced, Jamie looking different. Social media exploded. "Is that even him?" people asked. "Why is he hiding?" Paparazzi caught glimpses, but he never spoke, never clarified. That silence? Cube said it wasn't a coincidence. It was strategy. "That's how they erase you," he said. "They make your fans doubt your existence." Cube didn't call it a conspiracy. He called it a tactic, a distraction, kind that destabilizes your legacy, poisons your public image, and makes even the people rooting for you question what's real, all while dangling redemption in the background. Movie deals, talk show invites, a PR comeback if you just play along. But Jamie refused. He stayed out. And Cube made it clear that refusal was dangerous. He leaned forward, voice sharpened. This ain't about fame. This ain't about music. This is about control. And then he looked at the jury one by one. 'Cause what Cube said next would expose the darkest truth of all. The system wasn't just corrupt. It was designed that way from the start. By now, the courtroom didn't feel like a courtroom anymore. It felt like a reckoning. Ice Cube stood firm and delivered the final blow. This isn't about Diddy anymore, he said. It's about the ones who helped him, protected him, covered for him. He spoke of those infamous parties, the hidden cameras, the recordings, the networking nights that were really auditions, silent tests of obedience. If you followed orders, you got protection. If you didn't, you were punished. Lives ruined, careers erased. Then Cube told a story about a rising singer. She had the voice, the buzz, the deals lined up, but she declined a contract with Bad Boy. Within months, gone. Unstable, they said. Difficult to work with. Her career vanished, just like Jamie's almost did. And then Cube said the line that made the whole room freeze. I came here wondering what Diddy did. But the real question is, how many people helped him do it? The judge leaned back. The gallery was stone silent. Even the prosecution looked shaken. Because this wasn't just testimony. It was an indictment of the entire machine. And as Cube stood for his final words, he made one thing clear. The silence that protected the system? It's over now. Ice Cube stepped off the stand. Not with anger. Not with drama. Just conviction. He walked to the center of the courtroom, slow, deliberate, like every step carried decades of truth. Then he looked Diddy dead in the eye. You built a kingdom out of other people's silence, he said. You called it success, but it was slavery. No one interrupted, not even Diddy's lawyers. They just sat frozen, watching the power shift in real time. Cube didn't stop there. He turned to the gallery, to the press, to every young artist watching. They'll offer you the world, he said. But before they give you the keys to your dream, they'll ask for something back. Your voice, your dignity, maybe everything. Then he pulled out a photo. This was me, 1991. Bright-eyed. Thought I could change the game. He held it high, then tore it in half. That version of me didn't make it. But this one, the one standing here now, he's not afraid anymore. And with that, he walked away. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Because what he left behind wasn't just a testimony. It was a funeral for the silence, a warning for the industry, and the start of a storm no one can stop.